Good morning, Council. Are we ready to start?
Yes, we are ready.
Advocate Mloisani. Advocate Mloisani, are we ready to start?
Yes. I'm Paul.
Thank
Good
you.
morning, all. Yes.
Good morning. I'll place the matter on record. As the court pleases, my lady, this is a matter between the Special Investigating Unit and one other. This is Mr. Jacob Hlatshwayo and three others. Case number GP20 of 2020, appearing in the Special Tribunal of South Africa before Madam Justice Madiba, 14 February 2023. My lady.
Good morning. Good morning. Am I audible, Mpa?
Yes, my lady, you are.
I'm ready to start when you are, Counsel. Should I adjourn? I don't mind. I can actually use a few minutes. Ms. Monsomoloisani, Mr. Manala.
My lady, we are here and I believe we are ready to start.
Your video is not on, so I don't know that you are with me. Okay, I see Ms. Monsomoloisani has come on. You may place yourselves on record.
As the court pleases, my lady. Am I audible, my lady? Am I audible, my lady? Can you hear me, my lady?
Yeah. Yes.
As it pleases your ladyship, I'm L. Monsumoloisani, together with P. Ferreira for the plaintiff.
My lady, M. Manala appearing for the first defendant.
Thank you. Ms. Monsumoloisani. The matter is set down today for argument. I've received your written head, for which I'm told that I must push my screen backwards. Is that better, Mpo?
Yes, Judge, it is.
Actually, maybe I need to prop it. Is it better now?
Let me just confirm with Ndipeleke because he's the one that's streaming, so I'm not sure how you're appearing on his side. Okay. But on my side, you seem to appear fine.
I think I need to prop it. Okay, I'm just gonna stand down for a few seconds. I need to prop it, and I can discern what his problem is. may start.
As the court pleases, my lady. My lady, we have submitted our heads of argument, and we tried to deal with every issue that has been that cropped up during the trial, and particularly that pertains to the claim 2 in particular. So, my lady, firstly, we submit that or does your ladyship prefer us to refer to specific, points in our heads of argument, or to commence with the issue and complete the argument?
No, you don't need. I've gone through your heads. I think what would really assist me if you dealt with your opponent's case, because you've not had the benefit to respond because they raise legal issues that you would not have anticipated.
Indeed, my lady.
Mr. Hlatshwayo opted not to testify. So they're essentially discarding the audit report, they're questioning the probity of the evidence relied upon, and they're also complaining about the lack of cause of action, essentially.
Thank you, my lady.
So it would assist me if you dealt with all of that. Tell me what I should make of all the issues that they've raised.
Thank you, my lady. Commencing with claim 2, that is the claim that we are pursuing against Mr. Hlatshwayo. My lady, it is a common cause that there is no dispute pertaining to the entire procurement process in this case. And from the plea itself, and based on the issues that the parties agreed on, there is no dispute at all. Most of the issues, in fact, if not all, are common cause. And what is important is for your ladyship to focus on whether or not the first defendant's plea accords with Rule 13 of the rules of the special tribunal, read with Rule 18, and in particular 18.3 of the Uniform Rules of Court. My lady, firstly, the rules are there to be applied. The rules of court are there to be applied and to be confined, to be complied with. Firstly, my lady, the amended particulars of claim. In fact, let me commence with the original particulars of claim, where the fourth defendant was not cited as a party in these proceedings. They were
I'm able to hear you. I don't know. Ms. Monsumulo,
I can hear you very well, my lady. Am I audible, my lady?
I'm battling. It appears that my network is poor. I'm battling to hear you. I think it's better now.
Am I audible, my lady?
Yes, it's better now. You may proceed.
And my lady, it is also not in dispute that Mr. Hlatshwayo, the first defendant, was exclusively in charge of the entire procurement process, and that the procurement process was not done in accordance with the supply chain management policy. That has been dealt with. Now we focus on the issues that my learned friend has raised, my learned friend for Mr. Hlatshwayo has raised in the...
Just assist me here. Just assist me here on your submission that it is common cause that Mr. Hlatshwayo was exclusively in charge of the procurement process. Your own evidence suggests otherwise. There were other persons involved. We know that Mr. Kinyaku, is it Nyaku?
It's Mr. Taunyaku, my lady,
Yeah,
but
Mr. Taunya, wait. Mr. Taunyaku, there's evidence that he co-signed the delivery note that was not furnished to Ms. Supporti. There's also evidence that he signed some of the lockdown pivots that authorized the distribution of the masks to other provinces. So your own witnesses don't sustain the contention that you're making that Ms. Hlatshwayo was exclusively in charge of the procurement process. Because we have evidence of other people that co-received the masks with him, authorized the dispatch of masks to the provinces. So if you can just clarify what you mean when you say that he was exclusively in charge of the procurement process.
My lady, the procurement process refers to the process through which the masks ended up being delivered to the department. That is the entire procurement process. Yes. From engaging with the bidders right up to the time of delivery. That is what I mean by procurement process. That is not in dispute.
No, what you is include in dispute? The time of delivery, Ms. Monsumuloisan, you include the delivery, but we know that he didn't, in respect of the delivery, he didn't participate in that process alone. Mr. Taunyaku was also involved. Your own evidence.
Thank you, my lady. My lady, I don't think much has to come out of that. And I make this submission in support of what I've just said. This Mr. Hlatshwayo is the chief financial officer of the department.
Yes.
In terms of the procurement of the Public Finance Management Act, he is in a position to take responsibility. It is not Mr. Taunyaku is a deputy director. He's a deputy director facilities.
Okay, no evidence was led regarding Mr. Nyaku's role.
Can I just respond to that, my lady?
So I don't
Mr.
know.
Nyaku's
role regarding his position. No evidence was led regarding his position in the department. All I know is that he co-received the masks with Mr. Hlatshwayo when the masks were delivered. That's the evidence that came out during cross-examination, the cross-examination of Mrs. Supporti.
Thank you, my lady. On the issue of evidence having not been led regarding the role or the designation of Mr. Taunyaku, we heard that from Mr. Choche, Orokami Choche, the chief director, supply chain manager, regarding the position held by Mr. Nyaku. And further
did he testify regarding his position? I don't remember that.
My lady, there is that document that says Mr. Taunyaku is the deputy director. It's not in dispute. Can I just finalize this, my lady?
No, please assist me. Don't push my questions aside. It will not assist
you, my lady. Thank you.
Help me clear my mind on these things so that, then I can track with you. Just did Mr. Choche state what position Mr. Taunyaku holds in the department?
He only referred to the delivery note, my lady. He said the delivery note was signed, appears to have been signed. It's signed by Mr. Hlatshwayo, who is the Chief Financial Officer. And
No, I'm dealing
there
with
is,
Mr. Daunyaku.
yes, he was.
I'm asking you, did he testify regarding his position in the department, Mr. Chochi? I don't remember that.
He testified regarding the document and the people that, mentioned there that it was Mr. Choche, Mr. Hlatshwayo, the Chief Financial Officer, and Mr. Tau Nyaku, Director or Deputy Director, Facilities Management. They both received, and
Yes.
that is the evidence that he adduced. Based on the delivery note that he referred this tribunal to. So, my lady, on that, yes, it says actually he is the director, not deputy director, facilities management. This is the document that Mr. Choche testified about. But then we also have the evidence of Ms. Siputi when she was testifying about that other document which was not, it did not, it was black, my lady. It did not show until my junior brought the document which was clearly visible. It was illegible. That is the document that showed that Mr. Nyaku, as the director, facilities management, dispatched the balance of the masks. And that also was testified to by Ms. Bitumelo Siputi. Therefore, I submit that the role that Mr. Nyaku played is not in dispute. He is the director. He is not the chief financial officer. He's not the overall person who is in charge as the accounting officer. The evidence is there, my lady. Choche, when he was testifying, he said any person who performed any act did so under the instruction of Mr. Hlatshwayo, who is the chief financial officer. There is no one who signed on all those documents, the PPs, who would have been above the position of Mr. Hlatshwayo. But in any event, my lady, Ms. Bitumelo Siputi, in her evidence in chief, testified that she cannot sign on behalf of the chief executive, audit executive, who is her immediate senior, Ms. Karen Delorve. She has to be authorized by her to sign on her behalf. And that evidence was never even challenged by Mr. Manala in cross-examination to say, here all these delivery notes bearing the number or reflecting the number of masks which were delivered to the end users.
Okay, I don't want issues conflated, right?
Yes.
I asked you about whether there was direct evidence regarding Mr. Daunyaku's role, Daunyaku's position in the department. I didn't get a clear answer. But now that you've moved to the lockdown permits, I didn't ask you in relation to the lockdown permits that were signed PP. I referred to, I think there's one or two lockdown permits that were not signed on behalf of Mr. Hlatshwayo, but they were signed by Mr. Taku himself. Okay, I can try and find it for you.
My lady, from the documents we have, it is only this particular document which appears on page 185 of the bundle of documents, which was illegible, which was signed by, that is the only document. No other document was signed by Mr. Taunyaku apart from the delivery note.
Yes, that does show that Mr. Hlatshwayo was not the only person who was involved, right? Contrary to your submission. We have two documents that show that there's one other person who was involved, and that's Taunyaku.
But
and if you are saying that, yes, if you are saying he's a director, he's not a junior person, right? He's a director. He was involved in he received delivery, co-received delivery. He was involved in the distribution process.
My lady, apart from this document that appears on page 185, which is the only document which is not PP'd by Mr. Hlatshwayo, which is not signed PP Hlatshwayo, JP Hlatshwayo. All other documents reflect the name of Mr. Hlatshwayo. But back to the issue of the designations, Mr. Hlatshwayo is the Chief Financial Officer, as I have submitted, my lady. And in terms of the Public Finance Management Act, I mean, Section 38, I think it's 38.1, 38.1 D, my lady, of the Public Finance Management Act says, it's titled General Responsibilities of Accounting Officers. Subsection 1 says, the accounting officer for a department, trading entity, or constitutional institution, and then we go to D, is responsible for the management, including the safeguarding and the maintenance of the assets, of the assets, and for the management of the liabilities of the department, trading entity or constitutional institution. Now we're dealing here with a department. Mr. Hlatshwayo being the Chief Financial Officer of the department, second after the Director General. But in this case, we know that the Director General was not involved in this procurement process or even in the distribution of the masks. It is only Mr. Hlatshwayo. And my lady, it has never been, disputed that Mr. Hlatshwayo was not the only person responsible for the receipt or for the distribution.
The network is bad again. Sorry. Sorry, Ms. Monsumoloisane.
Thank you, my lady.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you very well, my lady.
My lady, we can hear you.
Sorry, I'm sorry. Okay, wait. I can't hear you. Wait. I can't hear you. Okay, Mpo.
It is never been
Sorry, I've switched. No, I've come to this. Can you hear me? Yes.
I'm battling. I can hear you at times. I can't
this
hear.
Is so much better. This is so much better. So I think we'll be able to proceed without further interruptions. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, my lady.
Okay. Yes, you were referring me to section 38.1D.
38.1D.
Yeah, just help me understand the scope of this responsibility because I'm really grappling with it. You know that the judiciary is is administered by the Office of the Chief Justice. They allocate every judge a laptop. That department has, the Office of the Chief Justice is a government department, as it were. They allocate each judge a laptop. That department has a chief, an accounting officer in terms of the section you reference. Now, if I lose my laptop, it is an asset of the department. Whose responsibility is it?
Can I come in there, my lady?
Mm.
We're dealing with procurement here.
Yes.
Procurement is everything that culminates with the delivery and the safeguarding of those assets. Once they become distributed, it's out of the procurement. The procurement process is complete. It is complete by the time delivery is effected. We now know it's on record. Mr. Hlatshwayo and assisted by Mr. Nyaku signed the delivery note. Now, that should not even impact on the evidence adduced by Ms. Boitumelo Seputi regarding the absence of the documentary proof of the number of masks.
I'm asking myself if the plaintiffs should not have investigated this loss further regarding exactly what role did Mr. Hlatshwayo play in the distribution process. Exactly what role. All we know now is that there are documents, lockdown permits, that were PP signed on his behalf. Therefore, he authorized that those documents be signed on his behalf. That's the evidence you rely on to say he was involved in the delivery process. And then we know Mr. Nyaku was also involved, right? Hence, I'm bringing an example where an asset is lost and the accounting officer for the judiciary could not have had anything to do with that laptop, but it's lost. And you know, the SIU relies on section 38(1)(d) to say, because you are the accounting officer, you are responsible for the assets and liability. There's this loss, therefore you must pay for it. I'm asking myself if the plaintiffs should not have done more to investigate precisely what transpired at the distribution point. Because all
my
that
lady, I don't understand the distribution point.
All Ms. Seputi relied on to make her findings, lockdown permits. Now, these were permits, according to Mr. Choche, that were signed to authorize, and Ms. Seputi also confirmed this. These were documents that were authorized, that were signed to authorize officials to be on the road during lockdown, right? So as to who exactly was involved in that distribution process, I don't know. All I know is that simply because Mr. Hlatshwayo was the accounting officer, and in terms of the PMFA section 38(1)(d), he's responsible for the assets, and because he was involved in the procurement process, therefore that net should catch him. If there's a loss, he must pay. What did he not do?
My lady,
what is it that he was supposed to have done? What it is that he did not, those allegations were not made. What it is that he was supposed, what duties should he have undertaken and he failed to undertake? You saw his heads of argument. He says if it's a delicate you are trying to prove the elements.
Can I respond?
The contract you are trying to prove, allege the terms and prove breach of those terms.
My lady, yes. We have the version of the plaintiff before court, before this tribunal.
Yes.
And that is the version of Mr. Choche and Ms. Seputi.
Yes.
And Mr. Hlatshwayo did not testify to take this tribunal into
Yes,
confidence.
I'm dealing with your
And
evidence. Remember, you must prove your case.
That is correct.
Even if he had not filed a plea, you and I would still have this engagement. You must prove your case.
Yes, but the fact of the matter, my lady, is that regarding the distribution that your ladyship is focusing so much on,
Yes.
we are saying Mr. Choche testified about the issue of the storage. Once goods have been procured
Yes.
to the department, they are now stored in the department, in the departmental store. And that is the evidence that was adduced by Mr. Yes, by Mr. Chote to say that he also went to the storage facility at some point and found Mr. Nyaku and Mr. Hlatshwayo, receiving or counting, but he found them there. The fact of the matter, my lady, can I just finish this one? Is
Yes.
that the plaintiff's case is not, based on what ultimately reached the end users, but what left the storage facility. Hence, the document which is PP'd Hlatshwayo, JB Hlatshwayo, is the document for transportation of the masks during the lockdown period.
Okay, let's go back. Sorry. You dealt with Ms. Choche's evidence regarding how goods are maintained once they are delivered. You dealt with it in high level terms. Okay, let's deal with specifics. What he said goods are received by the purchasing office. Now, he testified in relation to the process. He said, under normal circumstances, goods are received by the purchasing office. And then the client, the end user, will acknowledge that the procured goods got to the end user. He said that is the normal process. Then he said, in respect of the masks, he doesn't know what happened because he was not involved.
That is correct, my lady.
He said he doesn't know what happened because he was not involved. So where is the evidence regarding what Mr. Hlatshwayo, where are the allegations regarding what duties he ought to have fulfilled and he failed to? What he was contractually obliged to do and what he failed to do. Where is that evidence? Because I have difficulty with your attempt to now fall back on just a statutory provision to say because he's the accounting officer, he's responsible for the assets and liabilities. There's this shortfall. He was involved in the procurement process, therefore he must pay.
Can I respond, my lady? My lady, we are
Yes.
the evidence in chief of Mr. Choche, which was never disputed, is that
Yes.
if there is any loss, remember, my lady, the evidence that Ms. Bitumelo Siputi focused on was that they look at the payment certificate, which proved that 400,000 three-ply surgical face masks were paid for. Therefore, despite the fact that she did not have that delivery note, which was signed for by Mr. Hlatshwayo, which indicates that 400,000 surgical face masks were delivered, she based her evidence on the fact that because they were paid for, they were procured. Now we go to Mr. Choche's evidence. Yes, they have now been procured. Now, who is responsible? Mr. Choche's evidence, if your ladyship has captured that very well, is that once in the storage facility, and in this case, we now know that it was at least 400,000 mass according to the payment certificate. Now it's 400,000 mass. Mr. Hlatshwayo is the only person in charge of that facility, according as the chief financial officer, statutory provision to which I've referred your ladyship to. But that is we are concerned with the time when these goods leave the storage facility and the safekeeping of these goods. Now, what does this provision say? It says that accounting officer is responsible for the safeguard of the assets of the department. Now, we know that falls squarely on Mr. Hlatshwayo, not on Mr. Nyaku, not on any other person, but even if Mr. Nyaku, as a director of facilities, would have been responsible for the storage, but the person who is now in charge of making sure that they into both Miss Siput was aware of the audit process that was ongoing. Now there is a loss register which is being kept by the department according to his evidence. And Mr. Hlatshwayo never at any point reported that the goods that he received, for which he was responsible for safeguarding, in those, amongst those goods, 12,410 cannot be accounted for. Therefore, bring the loss register. Let me register the loss. There is no such loss. Mr. Hlatshwayo was at all material times still the chief financial officer in the department when this process was being undertaken to establish the number of masks which left.
Both Mr. Choche and Ms. Sipoti were asked who should be responsible for the shortfall. And they said Mr. Hlatshwayo is the accounting officer. Now, the question of liability is a legal conclusion that this tribunal will draw on the basis of the evidence that is adduced. The fact that Mr. Choche believes that because Mr. Hlatshwayo is the accounting officer, therefore he should be held responsible for the loss, it's a substantial loss, he said so. The fact that he believes that does not pass muster. The fact that Ms. Sipoti's internal auditing processes led her to that conclusion doesn't pass legal muster in this court. Doesn't pass legal muster. And when she was pressed, Ms. Sipoti, when she was pressed regarding the veracity of the evidence she relied on, she then passed the buck and said she won't change her conclusions. If the department would like to investigate further, they should do so. Now, in these proceedings, in the absence of that further investigation, it's rather too late, isn't it?
May I respond, my lady?
Yes.
My lady, this is a civil matter,
Yes,
where proof has to be on the balance of probabilities and not beyond reasonable doubt. Now, based on the responsibilities that Mr. Hlatshwayo, or that were vested upon Mr. Hlatshwayo in Section 38(1)(d), and the fact that after the delivery of the goods, he was there. There's no doubt about it. He's not disputing that. He received the goods. Now, he is responsible for the safeguard thereof, of the assets. Remember, now these become the assets of the department. They have been paid for, or an invoice has been submitted for payment thereof. Now, if he cannot as the accounting officer, my lady, explain, I mean, what happened to those masks which he authorized some junior officials to sign for dispatch or for ultimate distribution to end users, then he has to bear that responsibility. And we deal with that, my lady, from paragraph 28. In fact, the conduct is dealt with, the conduct of Mr. Hlatshwayo in the pleadings is dealt with from paragraph 17. Is it? Yes, from paragraph 17. But then we look at what paragraph 28, 27, 28, 29 states. We say the goods were received by the second plaintiff under the management and or direct, alternatively indirect control and oversight of the first defendant. This averment flows from the provisions of section 38(1)(d). And then at paragraph 28, we say, notwithstanding in writing acknowledging receipt of 400,000, we now know that there is no dispute about that, even if Ms. Siputi did not have that delivery note. As I've already stated, I don't want to repeat myself, there is proof of payment in that regard. Then Black Dot only delivered 337,000. We now know that they delivered the full 400,000 according to the delivery note, and that evidence cannot be disputed. Hence, we rely on what we state in the alternative. They delivered this mask, 3-ply surgical face mask, alternatively, and this is our point, my lady, alternatively, subsequent to delivery of the goods, 63,000 of the 3-ply surgical face masks delivered by Black Dot are unaccounted for. But the evidence has still established that it's actually 12,410,000, much lesser. A lesser amount, a number has been, it cannot be accounted for. And that amounts to that 310,250 rand, my lady. Now, my lady, I am still saying the pleadings have to be taken holistically. Although at paragraph 27, yes, that's where we deal with claim 2 specifically. But the conduct of Mr. Hlatshwayo is clearly spelled out in these particulars of claim. And Rule 18 of the Rules of Court, read with Rule 13 of the Rules of this tribunal, clearly says that the case must be clearly made out. And likewise, the defense, 18.4, says a party has to deal clearly with the defense in his claim or defense. In this case, we do not have any plea that specifically addresses the failure, these paragraphs, the allegations that are set in these particulars of claim. And my lady, I can just read what Rule 18.4 says. It says every pleading shall contain a clear and concise statement of the material facts upon which the pleader relies for his claim or defense or answer to any pleading. So we do not find any such anything in the so-called plea that appears, that talks to the averments in the particulars of claim. And my lady, we still maintain and reiterate that Mr. Hlatshwayo was responsible for for the safeguard of the goods. Prior to dispatch,
there's no evidence that he was responsible for the safeguard of the goods prior to dispatch. Evidence regarding security that was led was that at the particular building in Arcadia, there is access to the building is guarded by security, but no particularity was given regarding exactly what security measures are at the store. Who guarded the store when the masks were delivered, between the delivery process and the distribution process. As to who guarded the stores, there is no evidence that was led. All I know is that access to the premises is controlled by security. So I'm hearing for the first time in your argument that it's Mr. Hlatshwayo who was responsible for guarding the masks. I'm hearing that for the first time in your argument.
My lady, in the particulars of claim, it is clearly spelled out that, I mean, even with Mr. Church's evidence, he said Mr. Hlatshwayo is the chief financial officer. And we state this is legal argument. If your ladyship is prepared to allow my learned friend to present legal argument, clearly the plaintiff should also be allowed to present this argument, which flows from the provisions of Section 38(1)(d), that Mr. Hlatshwayo, yes, he was solely responsible for the safeguard. It's not evidence, it's there, it's a statutory provision that flows from his position as the chief financial officer. But we now know that at least the 400,000 were there in the storage. Hence, I say we focus on the alternative part in our claim 2. The alternative meaning the unaccounted, he has to be responsible for the 410, for the 12,410 masks which remain unaccounted for, pursuant to the audit report or the audit exercise that was conducted by Ms. Siputi and her team. And my lady, Mr. Choche was never cross-examined regarding the responsibility of Mr. Hlatshwayo to report any missing assets or goods. And Mr. Hlatshwayo is aware that there is such a register. I have said that before. He is aware there is such a register. So despite the audit report having been made available within the department, Mr. Hlatshwayo never at any stage approached any of the officials to say, look, there is this loss. We are missing 12,410 masks. He never at any stage did that. We are not talking about a deputy director or an assistant director. We are talking about somebody who would have been involved. But I don't want to say this, make these submissions based on what should and what should not have happened. The fact of the matter is that Ms. Boitumelo Siputi testified that Mr. Hlatshwayo was aware of the audit process. And that is the moment that he should have ceased to say, listen, there was this, let me report the missing masks in the loss register. He did not do that. And my lady, I submit that in the absence of any evidence rebutting the evidence of Mr. Hlatshwayo, or of Mr. Choche and Ms. Siputi, the evidence of Mr. Hlatshwayo, I'm sorry, my lady, the evidence led or adduced on behalf of the plaintiffs should stand, and on that basis, your ladyship should make a finding for in respect of claim 2, that is for Mr. Hlatshwayo to be liable for the 12,410 missing masks.
Okay. While you are still on the floor on this issue, I require a legible copy of page 185 emailed to Ms. Mashitisho. Please, that should be done as soon as possible. There's a tendency to make me wait when I ask for documents. It's extremely inconvenient and results in time being wasted. This document is at the plaintiff's disposal. I don't understand why the attorney would delay when I ask for documents. So this document should be emailed as soon as possible. It's the document that Mr. Ferreira handed up in electronic format during evidence. And then I would like to refer you to page 176. Page 176. Are you there?
Yes, we are there.
If you look, that's another, this is a receipt, right? Signed, it's an acknowledgement of receipt. It's signed by, I don't know whether it's Tulo or who, Sasin. And if you look at the bottom there, towards the left, the name of the distributor is Tau Nya. Tau Nya. So it's not just the page 185 that was signed by him. He also signed 176. I just needed to point that out to you. And also you will note that this document is very different from the others, right? The others are COVID-19 permits that authorize the transportation of these goods. And then the one on 176, it is an acknowledgement of receipt, which was signed in Arcadia. So the reading suggests that the handover process happened in respect of these masks, the 44,000 masks at Arcadia. So it's very different from the other permits.
Indeed, my lady.
Yes.
But what this permit shows is that this is the Gauteng. If your ladyship looks at the
yes, it's not a permit
for Gauteng.
It's a receipt. Yes,
It's a
this is a receipt. It is not a permit. Yes.
Indeed, my lady.
Yes.
This is the receipt for the Gauteng, for the masks in Gauteng.
Yes, I see that. Yes.
So Arcadia is in Pretoria. Pretoria is in Gauteng. And
yes.
on that report, it shows that the delivery happened right there where the distribution point of distribution is. It's the same one and the same place. Mr. Nyaku released these 44,000 masks, but they were received by this person on, I mean, hence it even shows it's the same date. The name of distributor, Mr. Nyaku, it says date 25/04/2020. And the name of the person who signed for, it still says 25 April 04/2020. So this is the point of distribution and receipt. And it's the only one which is different from other provinces. And this, my lady, I'm asking your ladyship to take judicial cognizance of the fact that this was the Gauteng delivery as reflected on the audit.
I think Mr. Hlatshwayo did not dispute that. It's reflected as the masks that were distributed to Gauteng, right? But what this document is telling us is that Mr. Nyaku himself, Mr. Nyaku, distributed these amount of masks to the person who signed on the right side, who collected them on behalf of whatever of Gauteng office, right? Which is very different from the rest of the documents that were signed by Mr. Hlatshwayo, because those are simply lockdown permits that indicates that Mr. Hlatshwayo authorized a named person to transport a specified number of masks and where the exchange would take place. It doesn't attest to his actual involvement in the distribution. It simply says he authorized, whether it's PP signed or not PP signed, his role was authorized as specified in this document.
Thank you, my lady. The case against Mr. Hlatshwayo is not based on the ultimate distribution. It's based on the procurement and the safeguarding of those procured goods. And hence we say on this document, which appears on page 176, which is signed by Mr. Nyaku, we say, yes, Mr. Nyaku, it's not PP'd for Mr. Hlatshwayo, it's Mr. Nyaku. But then also the document on page 185, which Mr. Manala also has, he even confirmed at the during the trial that he has even showed your ladyship that he does have a legible copy of page 185. So it is signed also by Mr. Nyaku. So that shows that Mr. Nyaku, as a subordinate of Mr. Hlatshwayo, he is a subordinate. There is no, in the Public Finance Management Act, the role of a director is not mentioned in this in that section 38. The responsibility falls squarely on the chief financial officer as the accounting officer or the director general. But in this case, we know that the acting director general, Mr. Shabani, Petrus Shabani, was never involved in the procurement process. And we now know from the evidence of Ms. Siputi that actually the request came from that office. The request for the audit to be conducted came from there. Hence, I submit that the DG was not, the acting director general was not involved in the procurement process and in the responsibility to safeguard those procured goods. We're not talking about distribution to the end users, but that is the evidence that. Thank you, my lady. My lady, can my lady hear me?
I'm losing you again.
Am I now audible, my lady? Yo. I don't know, my lady. Should we perhaps adjourn the rest of the participants?
I can't hear you. Okay, wait. I can't hear you. I can't hear you again. I'm losing you.
Can't we adjourn, my lady, and restart?
Mpho, please assist.
I was still making submissions regarding the responsibilities of an accounting officer, which
Yeah, just before you continue, let me just ask you this question. Mr. Hlatshwayo was the chief financial officer, right?
That is correct. Not acting, permanently employed.
At the time, yes. At the time, he was the chief financial officer.
That is correct, my lady.
Was he the accounting officer? Was he the department's accounting officer? As defined in the PMFA?
My lady, in terms of the PFMA,
yes.
Mr. Hlatshwayo is, as the chief financial officer, is responsible for the finances and all
Ms.
that.
Monso Moloisane, it doesn't assist you if you don't answer my questions. This is a very direct question. He was the chief financial officer. Was he the accounting officer as defined in the PFMA?
I submit that he was.
Okay.
He assumed that role as Mr. Shabani was never involved in this procurement process. And perhaps I need to read. Yes, I need to read.
On what basis do I find that he assumed, okay, is he the accounting officer as defined? I don't care what he assumed. Is he the accounting officer as defined? You'll deal with the other issues where you'd like me to go. Yes, no? Is he the accounting officer as defined in the PFMA?
The accounting officer is the director general or anyone acting in that position.
Are you still with me? Looks like you're frozen.
No, I am with you, my lady. I can hear you.
Can anyone hear me? I don't know whether it's the problem is on my side or on Ms. Monsumoloisane's side.
You are audible, my lady.
Can you hear me, my lady? I'm trying to make a submission. Can you hear me, my lady? Or else maybe we should adjourn and reconvene. Manala, can you hear me?
Yes, very clearly. I can hear all of you. I can hear the court. I can hear you. I can also hear Mpo Essen when she comes through. I don't think there's a problem on this side.
Okay, sorry, I had lost you. Yes. Please answer my question. I didn't hear your answer. I didn't hear your answer.
Can you hear me, my lady?
I can hear you now. Yes.
My lady,
I can hear you now.
Yes, my lady, I am saying in the absence of the...
no, answer my question.
He is
answer.
Not.
He's not.
Unless delegated with such powers.
Unless delegated with such
Unless
powers.
Delegated.
Yes, okay.
Yes, the accounting officer is the director general.
Yes, okay.
But as the most senior person who took over, it's not in dispute, my lady, that he was involved with the entire procurement process, contrary to the policy, supply chain management policy, without adhering to the provisions thereof, without adhering to the national instructions number 8, circular number 30. He deviated without proper control, without proper permission. That we know has been admitted by him, that he assumed the role of, he did everything until receipt of the masks. It's not in dispute.
Okay.
Hence, we say, as the most senior person, as the most senior persons, my lady, we submit that he was in law expected to safeguard those assets.
I've lost you again.
My lady, it appears our colleague is frozen.
You see why you should have come to court. We'd be done by now.
No, but we've made progress nonetheless.
I'm going to let you come tomorrow. We can't continue like this.
Go to physical court, yes.
But Friday.
Yeah, tomorrow I'm standing the matter down for argument in court tomorrow. We really cannot continue like this.
My lady, can you hear
Doesn't do
me?
justice to the matter.
Can you hear me, my lady?
I keep losing you.
Manala, Friday,
Are you not available tomorrow?
my junior is not available and is playing a very
Tomorrow.
crucial role. But Friday,
In
we are
another
all
matter.
available. Friday,
Okay,
we are all
Mr.
available.
Manala?
My lady, I'll fall in.
Okay. Okay, I'm standing arguments down to Friday in court in Boisens. I would like you, in relation to the interlocutory application, I would like you to study the judgment of the Supreme Court of Appeal in Highfeld Steel and Vanadium Corporation Limited and HFM Oosthuizen. The judgment was penned by Maya Judge of Appeal, as she then was. The reference is square bracket 2008, close square bracket, ZASCA 164 bracket, open bracket 01 December 2008, close bracket. Because I think that authority raises a challenge for the tribunal that's not direct, that's not addressed by any of the parties. So if you study that judgment and address me specifically with reference to what Judge Maya said, Justice Maya said from paragraph 14 to the end of the judgment. It's a very short judgment, 21 paragraphs, 10, 11 pages. If you can just study that and see if you are able to assist me regarding the principles set out in that judgment regarding the discretion of a pension fund to preserve pension benefits of an employee where there are pending legal proceedings. Okay. Proceedings are adjourned until 10 a.m. on Friday. You can just acknowledge that you hear me before.
As the court pleases, as the court
Thank you.
pleases.
As it pleases your ladyship, we have heard you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Proceedings are adjourned.